Hey guys, happy Thursday. Just a reminder that today we're going to have an agri-science fair work day after school today. I will have the bus at the junior high to give rides out here. So if you want to come after school, work on your agri-science fair project, help you get in a good position to have a great design to compete with, I can absolutely help you with that. Okay. So we've been talking about hot topics for a while. Yesterday, we hit on GMOs, and today we're going to hit on one that's probably the most controversial of all the ones we're going to cover, and that's horse slaughter. Okay. Um, and remember that when we talk about these, I'm not looking to change your opinion. I'm not looking to sway you. I'm here to provide you with facts and information. And I'm here for you to learn to defend your stances based on facts and not emotions. And your assignment today will be exactly that. After you listen to my spiel, you're going to formulate an argument for or against horse slaughter. And you're going to have to show me websites, facts, information regarding horse slaughter. And so you can't just give me some kind of little emotional spill. You're certainly welcome to be against horse slaughter, but you can't just use emotions. You're going to have to use hard evidence and facts to back up why you are for or against horse slaughter. So, what's the deal with horse slaughter? Let's take a look at it. So let's start by taking just a really quick look at the history of horse slaughter in the United States. Have we done this in the past? We don't slaughter horses today. But if you look in the early 90s, 1989, 1990, we were the number one producer of horse meat in the United States. Okay, if you look at it, we're looking at roughly 350,000 horses each year were butchered, and that meat was sold for consumption. Okay, as we get into the 90s, that number starts to go down, and you'll see by the early 2000s, we went from 350,000 horses to like 50, 60,000 horses. So it became far less popular to do. Okay. This is us compared to the rest of the world. So the red is the United States, the blue is Canada, the green is Mexico. And you can kind of see it's on all of them, but sometimes it's really small. Japan is on there as well as purple. So you'll notice, okay, in 1990, we're looking at about 20,000 horses that were butchered for meat, and almost 350,000 of those came from the United States. So the vast majority of horses butchered for meat were done right here in the United States. Now, as we got to the end of 2006, at the end of 2006, it was actually passed and outlawed for horses, but that law didn't quite go into effect until early 2007. So we get into 2007, and you'll notice that the red basically goes away, right? Horse slaughter, we stop butchering horses in the United States. But you'll notice two other colors kind of take over. And so when you look at 2007, when horse slaughter was illegal in the United States, in 2011, you'll notice that there are about the same number of horses worldwide that were slaughtered. Well, who picked up the slack? Well, Canada and Mexico. That blue bar that represents Canada and that green bar that represents Mexico, much, much bigger, right? There's a lot more of that going on. And so I kind of hit some of this already. What about this is kind of a weird thing to talk about maybe for some of you, but the nutritional value of horse meat compared to beef, it has less calories, it has less fat, it has less cholesterol, okay? It is a far leaner meat that still provides really good protein, okay? Like I mentioned in 2006, leading into 2007, we were down to about 3 plants, horse slaughter plants nationwide, and then those plants were shut down, and it was actually outlawed. How did they outlaw it? We're going to cover this a lot in class tomorrow. Just so you know, you cannot go out and butcher an animal and sell its meat to your friends. That is not allowed. Any animal that is processed and sold for meat has to be inspected by an organization called the USDA, the United States Department of Ag. They have to inspect your horses or your facilities, whether we're processing chickens or cattle or horses or whatever, and they have to approve it. Well, in 2006, the U.S. government said, we're taking away your government inspectors. We are no longer giving government inspectors to horse slaughter plants. And they're like, but we're not allowed to slaughter horses if you don't have an inspector. And the government goes, exactly. Right? So they took away those inspectors, which basically made horse slaughter illegal nationally. Okay? Why do we slaughter them? Why do we kill these horses, these poor, beautiful, majestic creatures? Okay, first of all, no horses in the United States were raised for meat, okay? It is shipped to other countries. It does not end up in your McDonald's burger. It does not end up in your school lunch. I guarantee you none of you in here have ever eaten horse meat unless you traveled outside the country, okay? These horses that are slaughtered are normally animals that are crippled, old, have a really bad quality of life. Okay, it's kind of a humane way, if you will, to put them down, because these horses do have to be killed humanely. There's a law we're going to learn about tomorrow in class called the Humane Slaughter Act, and basically that means that there are only certain ways that we can kill animals. Okay, where the animal does not feel pain and suffering. And horse slaughter would have fallen under the Humane Slaughter Act, and so. Know that we didn't have horse feedlots. We're not raising them specifically for meat. We're taking the old, the crippled, the injured horses, and we're processing them, kind of putting them out of their misery and creating a product that we can now sell and get some money back on that. Okay. Why are people against it? Well, I think it all comes down to this right here. Most people out there lump horses more in with a dog or a cat or a pet compared to a cow or a chicken. Okay. Right? We know that livestock, the purpose of livestock is to be raised for meat, right? When we look at pigs, right? I mean, unless we're talking about a teacup pig, people don't raise them for pets, they raise them for meat. Whereas a dog or a cat are more of a companion animal. And so people look at a horse more as a companion animal, right? The animal you train, you ride, you love on. And if I wouldn't eat Fluffy, what gives me a right to eat this horse? Okay, right? Because we see them in the same category. So, what are things people see the horses as a pet? They're concerned about the well-being of the horses. We worry that these animals are going to suffer or be killed in an inhumane way. That's definitely a big concern amongst a lot of people. We're worried that people are going to raise horses for meat like we do cattle. They're worried that we'll start having like horse feedlots, and we're raising them specifically for that. And then people are also worried that they're going to end up getting served horse at a restaurant or grocery store, which I can tell you is not the case for sure. Okay, so what happened since horse slaughter was outlawed? Okay, I want to paint this picture in your mind. Okay, so imagine that you had a horse. Okay, you have a horse, and this is a horse that you train and that you ride for competitions. Maybe you go all over the country and compete with this horse, and it's really well trained and you love it. It costs you a lot of money to take care of it. Okay, it takes on average about $2,000 a year to feed and care for a normal horse. And we get to these performance horses, and obviously that number goes up. Horses are far more expensive to take care of than any other type of farm animals. So, but it's okay because you're winning these competitions. You're bringing in prize money. You're able to cover the cost of the horse. You don't have a big farm. In fact, you keep it at a stable in town. A lot of people do this, right? You have a lot of people who don't own a farm, but they have a stable where they can keep that horse and kind of board it, right, without having a facility of your own, which can be very expensive. And so you have this horse, you ride it, everything's going good. You're competing with it. One day you're outside the stable and you're practicing and you're riding, and the horse breaks its leg, right? Just kind of snaps that leg, hurts it really bad. Horse can't put any weight on it, right? Miserable, in pain horse. What are your options? What can you do? Okay, you go to the vet, have him look at it. It's not going to get any better. This leg is not going to heal up. I mean, it is shattered. Okay, horse cannot put any weight on it. Every time it touches the ground, that horse just, screams in pain. What do you do? Well, you have several options. Okay, now this is where my country boys in the back seat always go. We're going to shoot this thing. Okay, listen. The problem with that is, what are you going to do with it when you're done, right? This horse is a very, very big animal, okay, right? This isn't a fish that you flush down the toilet, right? This is an animal that, a little dog that you put in a box or whatever, okay, right? This is a really big horse, okay? We'll have the vet do it. Yes, the vet can euthanize your horse and dispose of it for you for a pretty hefty fee. Pretty hefty fee, very expensive, okay? Let's say you can't afford that. Okay, you don't have a place to dispose of the animal. You can't afford to hire the vet to dispose of it. So can you sell it? Well, no, absolutely not. No, you can't sell this animal because who's going to buy a three-legged horse? Okay, here were two really common options that happen. Okay, the first one is this: I'm not getting a return on this animal. This animal is very expensive. Care for this animal now starts to decline, and we end up on the news as that horse abuser, that person that has that really skinny, starving horse, and people are like, dude, what the heck, man? You're a bad person. You let that horse starve, and you're like, I don't know what else to do with it, okay? Another option that we found that was really interesting was an abandoned horse. Okay, seriously, an abandoned horse, meaning we know that another person you know in town does a really good job of taking care of horses, and you go out there and basically it's like the opposite of stealing. Okay, you dump that horse off in their pasture. They come outside the next morning, there's that horse. Okay, and all of a sudden we went from 4 horses to 5 horses, right? And we saw that abandonment issue. Okay, we saw horses at sale barns sell for -dollars. What do I mean by -dollars? When you go to a sale, the sale will take a commission, right? The sale barn will take a commission on selling your animal. And you know, what if it's sold for? I've seen horses sell for $20, $25 at a sale barn. Okay, um, and it costs $50 in commission, right? So now we literally just paid money to sell our horse. Okay. Here's another option. Remember how we saw that the horse slaughter numbers have not went down? They just went down in the United States. So now I'm going to sell them to a horse buyer who's going to haul that horse to Mexico. Okay. So we're going to cram that horse in a trailer with 30 other horses. Remember, it's got a broken leg. We're going to, every time we hit a bump, right, that horse is in a lot of pain. We're going to haul it down to Mexico. It's going to be in that trailer for 48 hours straight. No food, no water, in its own filth, crammed with other horses. And it's going to go to Mexico, which does not have a humane slaughter act like we do. And its facility is not as humane for processing animals. And that's what a lot of people did. This is the issue. It's called the unwanted horse theory, okay? We talk about cattle. Cattle are always going to have a home. Why? Because we butcher those animals, okay? Horses, we only own so many, and if they live a long time, which we hope they do, you're not going to go out and buy horses a lot if you're riding, if you have one for riding or for working or stuff like that, okay? And so we end up with all of these unwanted horses, and the number of unwanted horses in the United States today are crazy, where we end up breeding a horse, we have a baby, it's not some fancy show horse, racehorse pedigree, it's just this horse, and nobody wants it, okay? This is the argument for horse slaughter, okay, is that horse slaughter helps us put down these animals that are in a lot of pain, gives a little bit of financial return to the owner. But like I said, it does provide a product that we can ship overseas to other nations for consumption. But more importantly, it helps put that animal out of their misery. We have seen since the start of the ban of horse slaughter, we have found that we've seen way more horses abandoned on people's property. We've seen way more horses abused. We have seen way more horses shipped to Mexico. Okay, so we're seeing all of these really negative consequences to the welfare of horses, where before I could put it on a trailer, take it to Oklahoma City, sell it, have it processed, the animals put down in a humane way, just like we might cattle. So where are we at on horse slaughter today? Well, remember 2006, nationally the United States said it's illegal. Well, they came back and regretted that. There were a lot of animal rights activists even that said, oh my goodness, look at all these suffering horses now. We were wrong. And there were animal rights organizations that actually came back and supported this right here. In 2012, horse slaughter nationally became legal again. It's kind of like medical marijuana. We made it a state's issue. So each state got to decide if horse slaughter would be legal or not. In 2015, Oklahoma legalized horse slaughter again. So technically today, you can invest the money and you could open a horse slaughter plant in the United States. Now, to my knowledge, I haven't looked in the last year, but to my knowledge, there are no horse slaughter plants. I don't know why that slide says it earlier, but there are no horse slaughter plants in the United States. There are several that are waiting to maybe open again. The problem is, do you want to dive into something the government could just turn right around and shut back down again? Okay. And so that's kind of the concern with horse slaughter plants. Today, there still are none, to my knowledge, in the United States. But in the next year or two, there very well could be. Okay, so here's what I need you guys to do for class today. Just real easy. First of all, you're going to go to your Google Classroom. You're going to click on this FFA shirt form that's going to pull up. Please put your name and your shirt size. This is the only way that you're getting one of those free FFA shirts, and it's got to be done this week. Okay, after you do that, you're going to go to classwork, and it's going to say Thursday horse slaughter debate. It's going to pull up this document right here. Okay, remember, I want all of your stuff based in fact. And I know it's advisory day and we don't have a lot of time, so I've done some of this for you. I want you to list 3 benefits of horse slaughter and include the website where you got the fact, because I want facts to back up. So, for example, here I gave 1 benefit of horse slaughter. It reduces the excessive number of unwanted horses, and I found that on a website, so I copy and pasted that link. Then I want you to give me 3 negatives of horse slaughter and where you got that facts. And so I included one right here, one I didn't even talk about in this lesson. Okay. And then below this, I want a paragraph of why you're for or against horse slaughter. Feel whichever way you want. I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, but I do want it based in facts and not a whole bunch of emotional spewing. Okay. So that's your assignment for today. Get it done. We'll see you guys tomorrow.